Welcome back, horror fans, cinephiles, and giallo enthusiasts. This is Tanner Leeser, your host for all things giallo, here on The King in Giallo. Our next stop on our journey through giallo cinema is the second film from Luciano Ercoli, Death Walks on High Heels, released in 1971. In this video, you will find the overview portion of the full-length review. Coming next week will be the review and GialliTally. This video may be watched entirely without any spoilers. Here is Death Walks on High Heels. Overview. Death Walks on High Heels is an Italian and Spanish co-production released on November 19th, 1971. The film is directed by Luciano Ercoli, written by Ernesto Gastaldi Manahén Valasco. Music is composed by Stelvio Cipriani. The cast is comprised of Frank Wolff as Dr. Robert Matthews, Nieves Navarro, billed as Susan Scott, as Nicole Rochard, Simón Andreu as Michel Umont, Carlo Gentili as Inspector Baxter, Jorge Rigaud as Captain Lenny, Luciano Rossi as Hallory, and José Manuel Martín as Smith. The plot follows Nicole Rochard, an exotic dancer working in Paris, who becomes a suspect to the police after her father's recent murder, a notorious jewel thief. Things get worse for Nicole when a masked man using a voice changer breaks in and threatens her over the stolen diamonds, leading the woman to believe that Michel, her alcoholic boyfriend, is the culprit. She flees to the English countryside with Dr. Robert Matthews, one of her wealthy admirers at work, who promises Nicole a new life together. But she cannot truly escape the past, which begins to rear its ugly head. Hot off the heels of the successful debut film, Forbidden Photos of a Lady Above Suspicion, 1970, the team of director Luciano Ercoli, writer Ernesto Gastaldi, and actors Nieves Navarro and Simón Andreu assembled once more for Ercoli's sophomore giallo outing. The film they brought us has garnered mostly a mixed reception, with nearly all agreeing the film is worth seeing at least once. Death Walks on High Heels was shot on location across Italy, France, and England, which adds a distinct European flavor to its aesthetic. Director Luciano Ercoli made use of striking real-world locations, including the vibrant streets of Paris and the quieter, picturesque landscapes of the English countryside. These settings lend a contrasting atmosphere to the film, with the urban, neon-lit sequences complementing the seedier and more suspenseful elements of the plot, while the rural scenes provide a false sense of tranquility and safety. Ercoli's decision to shoot in these settings was influenced by the desire to evoke a cosmopolitan, jet-set aesthetic that was popular in giallo films of the era. The climactic scenes, shot in a remote part of the English countryside, proved especially difficult due to unpredictable weather. Several key outdoor sequences had to be rescheduled or reworked due to rain and poor lighting conditions. Despite these setbacks, Ercoli and Fernando Arribas managed to capture some stunning visuals, utilizing the misty, overcast backdrop to heighten the film's eerie and suspenseful atmosphere. Behind the scenes, Nieves Navarro and Luciano Ercoli's personal relationship played a significant role in the film's production, and Navarro, billed as Susan Scott, was Ercoli's muse. This dynamic is apparent in the way Ercoli frames his star, often lingering on her with a certain affection, making her the focal point of many sequences. While some viewers may appreciate this focus, it's likely a response to her more secondary role in Forbidden Photos, where Dagmar Lassander took the spotlight. Here, Navarro is given ample screen time, showcasing her allure as a key element of the film's eroticism, which compensates for the minimal gore and violence. However, a controversial moment arises with Navarro performing a dance number in blackface and a fake afro, a scene that has not aged well and remains problematic by today's standards. The production faced several challenges, particularly in coordinating shoots across multiple countries. Language barriers and differing filmmaking practices between the Italian and Spanish crews led to logistical issues. Additionally, Frank Wolff, who played Dr. Robert Matthews, was reportedly unhappy with the direction of the script, leading to some tension on set. Wolff's discontent may have influenced his performance, adding an extra layer of detachment and unease to his portrayal of the mysterious doctor, a fitting nuance for the character, even if unintended. Upon its release, Death Walks on High Heels did not garner the same level of acclaim as some of its contemporaries in the giallo genre. It received mixed reviews, particularly for its convoluted plot and pacing issues. Critics at the time pointed out that while the film had moments of genuine suspense and style, it often fell short due to its overly complex narrative, which made it difficult for audiences to follow. Despite this, the movie has developed a cult following over the years, especially among giallo enthusiasts who appreciate its distinctive visual style and the performances of its lead actors. The film's mixed reception can largely be attributed to the screenplay, which falls short of Gastaldi's usual standards. It comes off as inconsistent, often feeling overly convoluted in an attempt to mislead the audience. Ercoli's direction doesn't quite help to streamline the narrative either. Critics noted that while the film delivered on the visual and erotic elements typical of the giallo genre, it fell short in terms of narrative cohesion. Over time, the film has been re-evaluated more positively, particularly in the context of the giallo genre's broader history. Modern fans appreciate the stylish cinematography, Cipriani's memorable score, and the film's blend of eroticism and psychological thrills. It is now seen as a unique, albeit flawed, example of early 1970s giallo, capturing the transitional period of the genre as it shifted towards more explicit and lurid content. The plot of the film becomes fairly predictable as it progresses, despite the writers and directors' efforts to keep viewers guessing. However, the frequent appearances of the masked killer inject just enough suspense to maintain interest, even if the final twist is somewhat telegraphed. Overall, this is often seen as Ercoli's weakest giallo entry. On the bright side, the film is visually striking, as I've said, thanks to Fernando Arribas' cinematography, which delivers stunning, quintessentially 1970s imagery. The iconic J&B whiskey makes frequent appearances, adding to the film's classic giallo aesthetic, while Stelvio Cipriani's score perfectly complements the atmosphere. Stelvio Cipriani, already well-versed in composing for giallo films, would go on to be considered one of the genre's most influential composers, ranking alongside the greats. Born in Rome in 1937, Cipriani studied music and initially worked as a backup musician for various popular singers. His first major composing job came with the score for the spaghetti western film The Bounty Killer, 1966. He then crafted the music for Piero Schivazappa's S&M thriller The Frightened Woman, 1969. However, his big break was scoring Enrico Maria Salerno's The Anonymous Venetian, 1970, a drama featuring giallo veterans Tony Massante and Florinda Bolkan. The success of this score propelled his career, giving him opportunities across multiple film genres. Cipriani's giallo credits include The Iguana with the Tongue of Fire, Bay of Blood, and The Devil Has Seven Faces, all released in 1971, as well as What Have They Done to Our Daughters, 1974. For me, one of the most memorable contributions includes the film The Blood-Stained Shadow, 1978, as well as Rabid Dogs, 1974. The latter, not a giallo, but a crime thriller with a twist that I find particularly inspiring in cinema. The film's cast delivers solid performances overall, with Frank Wolff delivering a compelling performance as Dr. Robert Matthews, balancing charm with an undercurrent of menace. Navarro herself does a fine job here, though she shines more in Ercoli's next giallo, Death Walks at Midnight. Navarro's portrayal of Nicole showcases her versatility and charisma, cementing her status as a genre icon. Simón Andreu is effective as ever in his typical role as a shady, morally ambiguous character, although his frequent casting in similar roles might feel repetitive to some viewers. Argentinian actor Jorge Rigaud returns to giallo cinema here, lending a dignified presence to his role as Captain Lenny. Born in 1905, Rigaud began his film career in the early 1930s and continued acting well into the 1950s. And by the 1960s and 70s, he had become a familiar face in both Spanish and Italian cinema. His notable roles include the spy thriller Kiss Kiss, Bang Bang, 1966, the spaghetti western Sugar Cult, 1967, the heist film Grand Slam, 1968, and the horror classic Horror Express, 1972. Rigaud made his giallo debut in Lucio Fulci's Perversion Story, 1969, later appearing in Fulci's A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, 1971, The Case of the Bloody Iris, 1972, and Eyeball, 1975. Tragically, he passed away in 1984 due to injuries sustained from a traffic accident. While Death Walks on High Heels initially struggled to find an audience outside of Europe, it was eventually released on VHS in the 1980s, albeit in a poorly cropped and low-quality version that did little justice to Arribas' cinematography. It wasn't until the film was restored and released on DVD and Blu-ray decades later that it gained a new appreciation from genre fans. The restored editions highlighted the film's visual flair and Cipriani's evocative score, helping it find a place in the giallo canon. Today, it is included in several giallo box sets and retrospectives, often serving as an introduction to Ercoli's directorial work. In retrospect, Death Walks on High Heels stands as an intriguing entry in the giallo genre, offering a mix of suspense, eroticism, and style. While it may not be the most coherent or tightly plotted film, its visual appeal, strong performances, and Cipriani's atmospheric score make it a noteworthy watch for fans of Italian thrillers. It may not have reached the iconic status of Ercoli's debut film or later films like Death Walks at Midnight, but it remains a fascinating artifact of early 1970s genre filmmaking, blending the allure of European glamour with the dark intrigue of giallo cinema. Overall, while Death Walks on High Heels may not be considered a masterpiece, it remains a notable entry in the giallo genre, especially for fans of Lucio Ercoli's unique directorial style and the screen presence of Nieves Navarro. Thank you for watching this overview-only video. Don't miss the full overview, review, and GialliTally for Death Walks on High Heels. As of right now, you can find the movie streaming on Tubi. Don't forget to like this video and join me next week to see the rest of this review. Comment your predictions for the AZ score for the movie and the final GialliTally score. Thank you very much for your continued support. This is Tanner Leeser for The King in Giallo, and if nothing else, I'll see you next time.
Valerie says they make love all day.
I wonder what they do at night.
They never pull the blinds so anyone can see.